Hi everyone, today we're gonna presenting our data visualization final project, which is about Baltimore crime analysis. So before we dig into these analysis, here's the first question: why we choose this topic? As we all know, while JHU is widely respected for its academic, many students and families have serious concerns about public safety. An incident like shooting last September in Harbor East, it shows a widespread anxiety, especially among Cary students. And Baltimore has historically faced significant public safety challenges. So that's caused a huge concern among students and families about whether to attend JHU or not. Even some current students, they want to transfer to another school just because of Baltimore's bad public safety situation. So that's why we choose this topic. Here comes our research question. How do seasonal trends, demographic, and neighborhood factors influence the spatial and temporal distribution of crime in Baltimore? And let's take a look of our dataset. So our dataset called NIBRS Group A criminal data. So it represents the location and characteristic of major crime in Baltimore. So major crime include homicide, shooting, robbery, aggregated assault, etc. And it contains crime data starting January 2022 all the way through June 2025 under the National Incident-Based Reporting System, which contains more than 200,000 criminal records and downloaded directly from data.baltimorecity.gov. To begin with the analysis, let's welcome Richard.
Thank you, Steve. This chart shows the 10 most common types of crimes reported in Baltimore from 2022 to June 2025. As you can see, the common assault happened been the most, with over 33,000 cases. The vandalism and auto thief are next. Just those three crimes makes up almost half of the top 10s. Altogether, these 10 crimes happens more than 180,000 times during this period. That's a really big part of the total crime in the city. Many of these, like assault, thief, and fraud, are things that affect the people's daily life. This chart helps us to see which crimes happen the most and show where the government and police might need to focus more. And next, now that we have seen the most common type of crime, let's take a look at where these crimes are happening. This is a crime density map of Baltimore. The dark red area shows where the more crime being reported. Next, he will tell us where the crime exactly being happened.
Now let's take a look at where all of those crimes happen. So in the chart at the top is the top 10 neighborhoods by total crime incidents. And we can see that downtown and Frankfurt have a higher number of crime. This indicates that certain neighborhoods consistently face more serious crime problems. And in the bottom chart is the top 10 premise by total crime incidents. And we turn our focus to location types. It is clear that the streets are the most common place for crime, almost 7 times more than the store. It is also interesting that schools are actually ranked the 6th. I think it is hard to believe why so many crimes occur in schools. And next, Zhixuan will talk about the relation between time and the crimes.
So now let's take a look at the crime trend over the recent 4 years. In 2022, we saw 53,730 crimes. That number rose in 2023, peaking at 67,570. However, starting in 2024, the number began to decline, dropping to 57,923. The crime case declined sharply to 24,597 in 2025. Is crime really declining in Baltimore by 2025? Answer is definitely not, since the year 2025 is only halfway through. So let's move to the next page. After excluding the data of 2025, let's take a quick look at Baltimore's crime trend from 2022 to 2024. As shown in this chart, crime rates follow a clear seasonal pattern, with incidents peaking in the summer, especially between July and September. In fact, July 2023 saw the highest spike, with over 6,800 reported crimes. It suggests that the warmer months tend to correlate with increased criminal activity. Another key point is the noticeable difference in overall crime levels across the year. 2023 had significantly higher crime numbers compared to both 2022 and 2024. And next page. So this heat map gives us a detailed look at the daily crime patterns across the calendar year. What stands out immediately is the spike in crime on specific holiday. New York Day marks the highest spike, with 765 incidents. And another key insight is that the crime doesn't distribute evenly, but it still corresponds to the information in the previous chart. The hotter the month is, and the crime cases there will be. And next. This image shows the distribution of crime at different times of the day through these years. It shows that the peak crime period is concentrated at night, especially from midnight to 3 a.m. in the morning, with nearly 12,000 cases during the night period. And 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the lowest crime period. It's much more safer to travel at this time. In the conclusion, it reminds us not to go out at night in Baltimore. Then it comes still again.
Thank you, Frank. So now let's talk about criminal demographics. Let's first talk about race distributions. So here are three maps. The left one shows the crime density map caused by white people. The right one shows the crime density map caused by African Americans. And in the middle shows the crime density map exclude white and African American people, which is the remaining ethnic group in Baltimore. You can see actually there's a clear gap between the total number of crime among different ethnic groups. So let's see what we observe from it. This slide gives us some insight. So you can see the incident have heavily clustered into central and eastern parts of the city, like the East Baltimore and Inner Harbor and also West Baltimore. But they still remain the center of the city. And the dense clustering of crime in central and eastern Baltimore are involving African American, just like the left one map said. Besides incidents involving white individuals, so which is green dots, they are more dispersed than the African American one. And there are also isolated high density areas appear in the South Baltimore, which you can see from the top two maps are Westport and Cherry Hill. So do not try to go there for your safety. Next, let's talk about criminal demographics about the pie chart. So the left side is the pie chart, shows the crime distribution by race, and here's some insights. So the majority of total crime attributed to African Americans, which is more than 70%, while the white individuals are the second largest group, which about 24%, and all other racial categories each represented actually less than 3%. It actually shows the highly uneven distribution and also some social economic background behind these consequences. And lastly, let's talk about age distribution. So these two charts are the relationship between age group and the number of total crimes in Baltimore. So you can see the crime peaks among young adults, with the highest number around year of 30. And the number of crime steadily decline after year of 35. And the crime in Baltimore is strongly concentrated among adults under 35. And here's one thing very interesting, like senior over 60, they still account for over 53,000 crimes. That is something I did not expect it before I do these data visualization analysis. For more analysis, let's welcome Bo-Kang.
Thank you, Steve. Although previous slides focused on citywide crime in Baltimore, my section zooms into Johns Hopkins. As JHO students, it was critical to analyze the area where we live, study, and work every day. JHO often carries a reputation for being in a high crime area. The spatial map confirms that this concern is not unfounded. Crime clusters are heavily concentrated west and south of campus, especially in areas like Remington and around Wyman Park. The localized hotspots suggest well-targeted patrols, improved lighting, or community safety programs could have the highest impact. For example, installing blue light emergency phones and expanding the coverage of the Safe Ride shuttle. Beyond knowing where crime happens, we need to understand what types occur most often. The bar chart reveals that shoplifting, larceny, and assault dominate. JHU can hold preventive seminars for students and collaborate with businesses to identify specific risk windows, making daily life safer without increasing fear. Reducing these repeat crimes will not only improve campus safety but also enhance the public's perception of the broader college area. The line chart reveals a clear seasonal patterns in criminal activity near JHA Homewood, with incidents rising sharply in June and peaking in July and August. This trend aligns with period when students may be off campus and community surveillance is lower. Notably, July's crime count is 60% higher than May's, indicating an urgent need for preemptive safety measures in early summer. JHU and local authorities should consider reallocating patrol schedules, increasing lighting in vulnerable zones, and launching targeted awareness campaigns ahead of the summer months to deter opportunistic crimes and safeguard the surrounding community during this high-risk period. Next, Steve will give the final summary.
Thanks, Bo-Kang. So here comes our conclusion part. So as we can see, the violent crime in Baltimore between 2022 and mid-2025, it shows a clear seasonal peaks in the summer. And also the spatial patterns shows a dense cluster in central and eastern neighborhoods. For example, the Inner Harbor and East Baltimore, which actually is near Johns Hopkins Hospital. And for the ethnic groups, African American are involved in the majority of incidents. And actually the safety concern for JHU students, they're not evenly distributed over time or space, but they're concentrated in some specific time period, which means schools and the government can have some specific plan to address the concern of JHU students in some specific period. And also efforts should also be addressed to underlying demographic and socioeconomic factors contributing to the total crime in Baltimore in order to give students a better safety environment. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much.